Coming up on today's Cowboys Report, very interesting developments here. Dak Prescott publicly backing Mike McCarthy. Wow, maybe we shouldn't freak out over that. There was one noteworthy thing that Dak said. We'll also discuss the rumors of Jerry Jones buying Tottenham FC. All that's come on today's show. Before we get into it, make sure you guys are subscribed. Multiple videos every single day here on the Cowboys. It's been about 2 on average over the past several months. That's not going to change, even with the holiday season just around the corner, / we're in it. Hit that sub button for more free Cowboys YouTube videos right now. Let's begin with the Dak Prescott conversation. He's speaking with Jory Epstein, or Epstein, I'm going to pronounce it actually, so apologies there, Jory. He backing Dak McCarthy publicly and said he wants him to return as the Cowboys head coach in 2025. Here's what Dak said when asked about it. I will make note, this is part of like a Dick's Sporting Goods backed charity event, but Jory's a good journalist, so she asked him questions that are not just about the charity event. Here's what Dak said, the full quotes from the Yahoo Sports conversation there. Your coach looks like he's playing on his last contract, and I'm almost feeling helpless. Like I can't help him in this situation. Especially a guy you believe in so much and you believe in being your head coach. Control what I can control, help and support Mike to every extent that I can. It's a guy that's won a Super Bowl. I know Jerry's attested to that. There's not many guys or coaches who have done that. And to have one that can do it from experience, I know how valuable he's been for me. I believe in him wholeheartedly. I don't want to say get into the nuts and screws of it all, obviously, but I think he deserves a chance, another contract, and a chance to coach this team amongst more influence. On his terms may be a good way to say it, but I wholeheartedly believe in him. Look, there is a lot to get into there as it relates to what Dak said about Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys overall. Some of which should not be surprising. I think the very obvious parts that people freaked out over, I think have been a little bit overblown. I'll explain more in depth by what I mean by that in a second. I also think there is one very noteworthy part of that comment that I think to an extent have been kind of overlooked and I think is actually maybe even more telling and more revealing than the other parts about what Dak said. And I know that it's the trauma speaking for many when you see Dak say that publicly about Big Mike wants to return, because I know a lot of you guys don't want Mike to return. So do his comments worry you? Do they give you concern? Are you freaking out thinking, oh my God, now Mike's going to come back for sure? Vote at the pinned comment of today's show. Y for yes, N for no. Now, my answer here is mostly no. And there are other parts I think are very impactful here. But here's why I'm not concerned. Dak gets asked that question. What do you expect him to say? Honestly. Now, he could have maybe tried to not answer it, but that's you can't give the no comments in December when your team's trying to make a miracle playoff push. That's just straight up saying I don't want him back, and that's a PR disaster. Do we really expect the almost always, with some exceptions, very good at PR quarterback in Dak Prescott to say anything other than overwhelming support for his current head coach, regardless of how you might feel privately even? Look, Dak usually says the right things. There's a couple of exceptions where maybe he hasn't said the right things in general. He is often very much in coach speak. He's kind of a boring interview, frankly. If you ever watch the very brief, they almost go from the internet, the Pardon My Take interview, it was terrible. It wasn't entertaining at all. It was just boring as all get out. Remember this part too. His teammates, his friends, his brothers in that locker room are fighting for their playoff lives. If Dak says anything other than I believe in my head coach, he is not being a good teammate. Because now it's all about, wow, the quarterback who's hurt threw his head coach under the bus. And it's a leading ESPN story in a negative context. And now his teammates got to answer that stuff. And now they got to defend their coach who they do believe in. This team does believe in Mike McCarthy. They have not quit on him. Even if there are and there have been moments in the past where maybe there were disagreements between Dak and Mike or whatever. Even if Dak doesn't believe that, he's not going to say it. And then to be very clear, I'm not saying Dak doesn't believe in Mike or whatever, but this team hasn't quit on Mike McCarthy. I think Mike gets some credit for that. Now, look, that I wouldn't read too much into either because you don't often get a mutiny. What happened in Chicago with Matt Eberflus is the exception, not the normal rule for when seasons kind of fall apart. That doesn't mean Mike McCarthy should be back. He shouldn't be. It's why you don't let the players make the calls. Because normally they rally around the interim head coach. The interim head coach hire almost never works out. Look what's happening in Las Vegas. Those players mutinied and rallied and are basically demanding that that Antonio Pierce stay, and it hasn't gone well this season. You don't go that route. You don't let, to borrow a phrase that got the Houston Texans owner in trouble, you don't let the inmates run the asylum. Now, the players have a voice. This is not the same comparison, obviously, but you don't let the players make the head coaching calls. That's why you have a front office. You doubt your front office, okay, I get it. But I really wouldn't overreact on that. Now, I will say, I wonder if Dak, whether on purpose or on accident, did slip up on one part of what he said. We'll come back more in depth on that in just a second. But it is the holiday season. If you're looking for a gift for yourself or the gamer in your life, the Turtle Beach Stealth 700 headset, it's the Gen 3 Stealth 700 headset, is the perfect holiday gift. It is the best cheat code for gamers this year. Get 10% off your order on the headsets or all their other great products by going to turtlebeach.com/chat and using code chat. That's for a limited time only, by the way. 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com/chat with promo code chat. The headset I am wearing on today's show is my personal one because my wife is not a gamer. She does not she doesn't even like it, quite frankly. But even she knows that Turtle Beach makes the absolute best in gaming accessories. It's not just headsets. They have every gaming accessory you could ever want, and they're all high quality at prices that don't break the bank. From flight and racing sims to controllers, keyboards, and mice, Turtle Beach has what you're looking for. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Again, for a limited time only, go to turtlebeach.com/chat and use code chat for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your entire order at turtlebeach.com/chat with promo code chat. Don't delay. Get the perfect gift this holiday season from our friends over at Turtle Beach. The quote that stood out to me and wasn't part of the tweet from Yahoo Sports, and those don't always get clipped and pulled the same way from a national standpoint, is Dak had said that Mike McCarthy should come back with a chance to coach this team amongst more influence on his terms. Maybe a good way to say it. That is very telling to me because I don't know about you guys. I read that as less meddling from ownership and to an extent of not having a mid-year reset where you're just not spending any money at all and you're actually trying to be more competitive. These are not new claims, and certainly adding some fuel on the fire to those from Dak Prescott. I think we've seen it in real time this year. They didn't add anybody of note really beyond Eric Kendricks in free agency. You saw it this season. Jerry Jones clearly still loves Zeke Elliott. You had your head coach discipline a player because he wasn't on time for meetings and et cetera, and had a bit of an argument when he said, hey, you're not going to play this week, and got sent home. And then your owner, like the next day, just says, I love Zeke Elliott. I wish that those were my issues off the field. Talk about just like undercutting the disciplinary aspect from your head coach and just being like, yeah, I don't care. I love the players. Like, that's not, come on. It's not right. And look, this has mostly been good. I think it's worked out fine. The Jones boys pushed pretty hard for Mike Zimmer to be the defensive coordinator, and Mike signed off on it. But like, I think if it was just up to Mike McCarthy, I think Joe Witt would have been your defensive coordinator this year, because that Witt was a Mike Zimmer guy, not a Dan Quinn guy originally. Now it's worked out great for Witt. He got to be the DC in Washington too, but there was a reason why other reports had linked Witt initially, and then it kind of went to Zimmer because ownership was involved in that. I think Kellen Moore was more or less forced on Mike McCarthy. Now, if you're a fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I think that was more because of the implication than anything else. That, if you don't do it, maybe you don't get the job type of deal. Because I don't think those two got along that great at the end of their tenures, more or less, or at least Dallas' tenure for Kellen Moore. And I do think Dak is right on that being an issue. They always want to meddle. Because your owner wants to play GM as well, or as he even said on 105.3, likes playing God with the injury report stuff. My takeaway, though, is that it just needs to be with a different coach. You should have ownership and the Jones boys, it's both of them, not be involved as much. And let the football guys do the football guy stuff. So do you want a new coach in Dallas? I think I know the answer here. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's video. Now, we got a juicy rumor here as well. The rumors of Jerry Jones / the Jones family buying the Tottenham Hotspur have been re-energized. These are not necessarily new. So let's run you through the timeline here, the key dates. Back in 2023 of September, the current Hotspur owner had said, I would consider selling portions of the team, whatever. Then in December 2023, Jerry Jones just so happens to visit London, by the way. At the same time, as a result, it's British tabloids, so it's extreme rumors. Don't always listen to those guys. Report, maybe Jerry's got some interest because the ownership was open to it. He just so happens to fly into the closest airport that's closest to Tottenham. Well, then this week and currently, at least as of filming last night I should say, both the Jones boys' yachts and the private jet just so happened to be in London. As a reminder, you got games going on this past week. Now, you've had the extra time. You're coming off the Thanksgiving break. You don't have that much going on, whatever. And the rumors return once again. Now, what is doubly funny is this had been mentioned to me before I'd even seen the tweet from PFD commenter, who also mentioned that with his whole please credit thing. Because he's right. The yacht and the jet are in London again. And these are not necessarily new. I didn't care about it last year because it was just British tabloids. And also the Cowboys were in a playoff run. And it was like around the Christmas time. And there was a lot more important things we had to discuss. A little bit different when you're 5-7 this year. Look, the Hotspur are worth an estimated $3.2 billion. I don't think this would be 100% buy if it were to happen. We are still in the extreme rumors category, by the way. Of note, though, the NFL happens to play some of their London Series games at their stadium. And wouldn't just marketer Jerry love to because they're going to have to play an overseas game soon. I had always assumed it would be one of the Mexico City games. But if you buy the Hotspur, I would assume Jerry wants to play the London game in London at his extra stadium. So we'll spend some more time on this, but just in general, what are your thoughts from a Cowboys perspective? And I'm sure there are some Hotspur fans who wouldn't like this. I take responsibility, by the way, because the brief times I played FIFA growing up, I always played as Tottenham to troll a buddy who was an Arsenal fan. And now look with what we're barreling down here. Is it good or bad? G for good, B for bad. In theory, this really shouldn't matter. Like, owner wants to buy a new shiny toy. Cool, whatever, who cares? Stan Kroenke bought Arsenal, and then he won a Super Bowl like a couple years later. It doesn't matter. Here's my concern for the Cowboys specifically. I do worry about it taking away from an already allegedly distracted Cowboys ownership group, which allegedly is me being nice. They are distracted. A team that needs to invest more money into the Dallas Cowboys and spending millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars on a soccer team. It is one thing for the owner to do this. It is another thing for the owner who wants to play GM dress-up to do it as well. The Cowboys have a budget theory is already out there. And I'm not talking about the salary cap of you can only spend so much money. No. I'm talking about cash, the cash budget. That Jerry won't let the Cowboys spend more than around $200 million per year because they haven't passed that figure, or at least not by a lot, in ever. Here's my advice. Look, if you want to buy Tottenham, whatever, who cares? Make sure you dance with the one that you brought, or that you brought, that brought you. Or at least in this case, the one that you bought first. You better be spending money on the Dallas Cowboys. If the rumors end up being true, and they are just deep rumors here, if the Jones boys were to do this, you better boost your Cowboys spending. Because I will not let anyone forget that you spent X amount of money on Tottenham, and yet You won't spend the money on the Dallas Cowboys. You have to boost your cash spending. You have to spend more money. You are entering a window, 4-ish years, where you have to be aggressive. If you spend all your cash on a friggin' football team, you better be spending just as more on your actual football team. Otherwise, I'm going to be upset. I will not be a chill guy over that.